Welcome to our annual parliamentary public meeting for the celebration of the month of the rights of the child, which theme is Educate Me Right so my future is right. We send a special welcome is extended to the Youth Territorial Council from French St. Martin. I've received notice of absence from the following members: YMP Jimla Holloman and YMP Alize Groeneveld. Are there any other notifications? Before we get into the presentations from our youth parliamentarians, let us reintroduce the St. Martin Youth Parliament to the island, region, and the world. The St. Martin Youth Parliament provides training in government and politics, parliamentary procedures, debating, critical thinking, and reasoning skills. We are not just a group of young people who are willing to learn such skills, but we also want to see a change in our community. If you look at our members, there is diversity in age, gender, and how we carry out our social lives. These are future doctors, lawyers, bakers, you name it. It also shows that we can come together as one and help promote the awareness among our peers on what is going on in St. Martin and the world. Our goal is to get the conversation started, thus stimulating action from both young and old, public and private sectors, government and NGOs. This will lead to positive results to benefit the whole of St. Martin. Social media marketing is our focus this year. We'll be launching a YouTube channel within the new year, and this outlet will let us inform the public as well as create a platform for discussion and debates to see how solutions can arise from our problems. So I introduce you once again to the St. Martin Youth Parliament that will present to you on this year's theme for the Convention of the Rights of the Child. The Convention of the Rights of the Child this year are focusing on two articles, Article 28 and Article 29. Article 28, the right to education, states, all children have the right to a primary education, which should be free. Wealthy countries should help poor countries achieve this right. Discipline in schools should respect children's dignity. For children to benefit from education, schools must be run in an orderly way, without the use of violence. Any form of school discipline should take into account the child's human dignity. Therefore, governments must ensure that school administrators review their discipline policies and eliminate any discipline practices involving physical or mental violence, abuse, or neglect. The Convention places a high value on education. Young people should be encouraged to reach the highest level of education of which they are capable. Article 29, Goals of Education, state, children's education should develop each child's personality, talents, and abilities to the fullest. It should encourage children to respect others, human rights, and their own and other cultures. It should also help them to learn to live peacefully, protect the environment, and respect other people. Children have a particular responsibility to respect the rights of their parents, and education should aim to develop respect for the values and culture of their parents. The Convention does not address such issues such as school uniforms, dress codes, the singing of the national anthem, or prayer in schools. It is up to the government and the schools officials in each country to determine whether, in the context of their society and existing laws, such matters infringe upon other rights protected by the Convention. So the questions are, who are the ones educating me? What do they consider as a right? What do they consider as a bright future? Does it involve developing my skills and passion? Does educating me right involves helping me understand the subject better? Only academics? Only vocational training? No sports or the arts? Why do we say that these are our rights if they are not being implemented fully? The question is, who do we blame? Our parents, the teachers, or the system? Ladies and gentlemen, listen closely to what our youth parliamentarians have to say. And at this moment, I give YMP Kadagams the floor.
Madam President, distinguished guests, fellow youth parliamentarians, good afternoon. My name is Kadar Gums, a 13-year-old second form student of the MAC Comprehensive Secondary Education. I have a twin brother who is 2 minutes younger than I. I am a member of the 1st St. Martin Boys Brigade. I enjoy playing baseball and represented my lovely island in Aruba along with my brother. As a youth parliamentarian, I want to learn about the functions of Parliament and to improve my debating skills so that I can represent St. Martin effectively. Primary education is one of the most important aspects in a child's life. Some children may not have a primary education because their parents cannot afford the school fees. This is serious, for if the child does not possess a FBE certificate, he or she may not be able to progress to secondary education. According to Article 28A in the Rights of a Child, and I quote, "Primary education must be compulsory and be free to all." End quote. This article must be implemented so that all pupils can receive a sound elementary education free of cost. St. Martin's Constitution also supports the concept of access to elementary education in Article 11(2), which says, "A child has the right to receive general primary education." I know that a hard-working Minister of Education is working tirelessly to ensure that all children of Country St. Martin receive a sound education. A progressive society is one which is built on sound education and moral values. I am totally convinced that we will have a better society when all the rights of a child are implemented. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Youth Member of Parliament Kadar Gums. YMP Dejnik George, you have the floor.
Good day, honorable members of Parliament, ministers, fellow youth members of Parliament, colleagues, parents, TV viewers, ladies and gentlemen. Rights of the Child 2016 topic is Educate Me Right so that my future is bright. My name is Dejnik George, and to me, the main needs to education is the process of facilities learning or the achievement of knowledge and skills. As a child, I find that education is important because education is the road that children follow to reach their goals in life. Education is what prepares young people for meaningful citizenship, employment, post-secondary education, and active participation in a global society. It is not restricted to time or space, adult qualification, or status. Education is the only thing that matters. The question we ask ourselves is whether we learn that which we believe will help us succeed. For too long, in too many schools in Country St. Martin, young people have been provided a learning experience that demotivates, uneducates, and underprepares them, that they are left reaching for remedial preparation for their careers, future education, and civil preparation that they seek. We seek nothing less than to transform the way children learn. This means during the typical school days, as well as including engaging expanded learning opportunities in afternoon school, weekends, and summers as a part of that equation, especially for the struggling students. Nevertheless, it is time to move towards the leading edge of learning and expand opportunities afternoon school, summers, weekends, and through school community partnership. Education is a fundamental human right and essential for the exercise of all other human rights. The reason Country St. Martin now has compulsory education. It promotes individual freedom and empowerment and produces important development benefits. Yet thousands of children and adults remain deprived of educational opportunities in Country St. Martin, many as a result of poverty. In closing, I will be finishing with my high school education at the Milton Peters College in 2 years, and unfortunately would have to be one of those students that have to go abroad and study, as my goal is to one day become a lawyer, and there currently is no law school in St. Martin that can facilitate my dream. I would like the Minister of Education to look into having more localized accredited schools in country St. Martin that caters to the population while offering a diverse set of courses that can benefit everyone. Revenues can then stay within the country, giving students the options to be able to study here where they have the support of family and friends instead of going abroad. Educate me right so that my future is bright. Thank you.
Thank you, YNP Dejanique George. YNP Joshua Bowers, you now have the floor.
Good afternoon, everyone. Honorable Minister of Education, my fellow Youth Parliament members. My name is Joshua Bowers. I am a student at the University of St. Martin. I'm also working at the St. Joseph Primary School, and today I'll be talking about Article 28, 1D, where it states that make educational and vocational information and guidance available, accessible to all children. And I'll be focusing on vocational education. Working in a school, I see that you learn that every child has a different learning style. And some children might understand, they might just read something and simply understand the concept, while others don't. And they often fall into different ways of drugs and bad behavior, you know. And I think that this is bad. I think it can be avoided. I think it can be avoided. And I also believe that there's a bias against vocational education. I think it's dysfunctional. First, it is destructive to our children. They should have the opportunity to be trained in whatever skill their natural gifts and preferences lead them to, rather than more or less condemning them to like jobs they find later on in life that's meaningless to them, you know. If a young person has an affinity for a hair design or one of the trades they want to learn, we shouldn't keep them from developing those skills. Now, secondly, I think it's also destructive to our society. Many of the skills most people need to compete in St. Martin needs to compete in the 21st century. You can learn through technical skills. And that falls into a big part of technical vocational training. I think the absence of this is in our society. I really do. And while changing societal values will take time, changes can take place on a school or district level more immediately. So I have a call of action to the Minister of Education that she may do this. Anyways, thank you for listening.
Thank you, YMP Joshua Bowers. And we now have our advisor, Ms. Michaela Shillingford. You now have the floor.
Good evening, Ms. Chairman, Clifford, members of Parliament, distinguished guests, my colleagues, radio listeners, TV viewers, and supporting staff. What is education? Education is the act or process of imparting or acquiring general knowledge, developing the powers of reasoning and judgment, and preparing oneself or others intellectually for mature life. Scholarly institutions, such as universities and public schools, are typically used to administer teaching. Articles 28 and 29 states respectively. Article 28, state parties recognize the rights of the child to educate, and with a viewing to achieving this right progressively and on the basis of equal opportunity, they shall in particular make primary education compulsory and available and free to all. Encourage a development to different forms of secondary education, including general and vocational education. Make them available and accessible to every child and to appropriately measure such. 2. State parties shall take all appropriate measures to ensure that schools discipline and administered in a manner
consistent with a child's human dignity and in conformity with the present convention. 3. State parties shall promote and encourage international cooperation in matters relating to education, in particular with a view of contributing to the elimination of ignorance and illiteracy throughout the world and facilitating access to scientific and technical knowledge and modern teaching methods. Article 29. State parties agree that the education of a child should be directed to the development of child's personality, talents, mental and physical abilities in their fullest potential, the development of respect for human rights and fundamental freedoms, and for the principle enshrined in Charter of United Nations, the development of right of the child parents, his or her own culture identity, language and values for the national views of the country. 2. No part of Article 29 or 28 shall be constructed so as to interfere with the liberty of individual and bodies to establish a direct educational institutions, subject always to observance of the principles set forth in paragraph 1 of the present article, and in the requirements that education given in such institutions shall conform to such minimum standards as may be laid down by the state. Education is a fundamental human right and essentials for the exercise of all human rights, to promote individual freedom and empowerment, and yields important development benefits. Yet millions of children and adults remain deprived of education opportunities, many as a result of poverty. Education is a powerful tool by which economically and socially marginalized adults and children can lift themselves out of poverty and participate fully as citizens. We all want the best for our children, but what does that mean? Isn't it enough for children to be loving, have loving caregivers as well? Yes, children need loving, kind adults to begin to learn and grow, and children need to be cared for in a safe, stimulating space. Also, the adults who care for children must have education, training, and support. They need to learn the best way to teach their child. When children are cared for by loving, well-trained adults in a safe and stimulating location, those children are on their way to getting what they deserve, the best early childhood experience. Therefore, it is essential to start free education at superior levels to ensure this vicious cycle of giving our children poor quality education. As a result, they grow up to give the same form of education to their children because that is what they know. It needs to be terminated as well. Rudolf Steiner spoke on a number of occasions about the experiences that are essential for the healthy development of young children. These include love and warmth, an environment that nourishes the senses, creative and artistic experiences, meaningful adult activity to be imitated, free imaginative play, protection of the forces of children, gratitude, reverence, and wonder, joy, humor, and happiness, adult caregivers pursuing a path of inner development. In a formal education system, the ability to grasp concepts and learn topics in various situations is determined through the use of exams. Degrees such as bachelor degrees, master's degrees, and PhDs are a means of evaluating the extent of formal education in a particular subject. Whether formal or informal, education is beneficial in developing the ability to think critically and make sound judgments. An educated person is also more likely to enjoy a higher standard of living and quality of life than a person with minimal education. Education has played an important role in developing a modern society, explains Psychology Today. Through education, people gain knowledge and skills, enabling them to become productive members of society. Formal education usually starts at a preschool level and continues until college. The distinction between formal and informal education is that the form of education is mandated through institutions. The latter is education acquired through individual effort and personal experience. The Convention of the Rights of the Child is legally binding human rights treaty that obligates governments to guarantee special protection for the full range of human rights for children and young people under the age of 18. This year marks 27 years of the Rights of the Child Convention, which was adopted and opened for signature, ratification, and accession by the General Assembly on the 20th of November, 1989. It was entered into force on the 2nd of November, 1919, in accordance with Article 49. UNICEF has done an exceptional job in fulfilling their duties, enforcing the convention throughout the world. Now it's our turn to stand with them and make sure our children are properly educated. Time for us to strive for excellence, motivate our children, and allow them the opportunity to free education with a high caliber, with a degree that will take them places, a degree that will allow them to further their studies at a university or college level. Defined in broad terms, educational goals are statements that describe the competence, skills, and attributes that students should possess upon completion of the course or program. They often operate within interacting domains of knowledge, skills, and attitude. Academic units may decide to define educational goals, focusing on anticipated benefits to students from participation in a group. For example, units may define a goal by stating what skills, attributes, competencies, and/or qualities are expected from students upon completion of a program, such as research skills, communication skills, critical thinking, and creative writing. Why be yet said, education is not filling of a pail, but lighting of a fire. Educational goals for our children should be lifelong learners. They should be passionate, be ready to take risks, be able to problem solve and think critically, be able to look at things differently, be able to work independently and with others, have integrity and self-respect, have moral courage, be able to use the world around them well, be creative, care and want to give back, be able to speak well, write well, read well, and work well with a number of people in their society. Our children should truly enjoy their life and their work. Our children are our future. Educate them right and they definitely will be right.
Thank you very much, Ms. Makeda Shillingford. I will now read a speech from YMP Jimla Holloman, who could not make it this evening. Educating the mind without educating the heart is no education at all. Aristotle. Within our St. Martin society and culture, there are several beliefs. Some may be looked at as being truth, while others not so much. There is a belief that education is a necessity for the youth and should be instilled in them from an early age, especially for the shaping of our future as a nation. This is true. We believe that all children should go to school to get an education. This is also true. Some decide to merge these two thoughts and conclude that education starts and ends at school. This little mashup, however, is a fallacy. It's dead wrong. Education begins in the home, where our teachers are not referred as Miss or Mr., your Frau or Meneer, but as Mommy and Daddy. In our traditional ways of life, parents began instructing their children from birth. They taught us right from wrong, how to groom ourselves properly, wash your hands, brush your teeth, take care of your clothes, clean your nose, tie your shoes. We were taught at home to respect our elders, to share and care for others. Our parents even began the process of book learning by teaching us our ABCs and 1, 2, 3s, and to spell and write our names. The family. In Caribbean culture, the family has always been viewed as the first social institution of a child. We are now seemingly diverted from this way of life, and its effects are not positive ones. The family initiates the molding and shaping of a child into what he or she will continue to grow to be, and prepares their minds and not forgetting hearts by shaping their character. The shaping process begins. Values are learned, morals, standards, the way of life, traditions, etc., are passed down from one generation to the next. In this way, children are prepared both mentally and emotionally for what is to come. Article 29 of the United Nations Convention of the Rights of the Child focuses and takes a closer look at the goals of education. Education should, 1, develop each child's personality, talents, and abilities to the fullest. 2, encourage children to respect others, human rights, and their own and other cultures. 3, also help them to learn to live peacefully, protect the environment, and respect other people. 4, children have a particular responsibility to respect the rights their parents, and education should aim to develop respect for the values and culture of their parents. Can all of these be learned at school or do they have to first be learned at home? It is my firm belief that not only should these values be first learned at home, but as the child pursues formal education, or hana, as the Hawaiians would say, the family unit is paramount in ensuring that those values are modeled and reinforced for the child. Chemist and Nobel Prize winner for his great works in chemistry, William Standish Knowles, also believes this, and I quote, "My family gave me the best education." Social institutions are said to be the building blocks of society. In our St. Martin culture, we grew up learning different norms and developed different skills that would help us along the way through our parents, grandparents, aunts, and uncles at home. The learning of the norms and values and skills do not stop here, but continue throughout our entire life through other social institutions. Although they fall under the same category and are interrelated, each is different, adding another dimension to our overall growth and development. These social institutions are the school and the church. The school as a social institution, can be said to have the largest impact on the youth of St. Martin. This is so because it educates us. It is concerned with socializing members of society into norms, values, knowledge, and skills a society deems important. The main function of education is to teach us academic, vocational, and even social skills needed within the society, hence its importance. While both the Convention and our Constitution guarantee every child's right to an education, the quality and effectiveness of that education lies in the understanding that in order to meet our goals, it will take the entire village working as a cohesive unit: family, school, church, and community. Youth of St. Martin, education is not just the responsibility of family, school, church, and state. The most important player in our education is us. We have a right to an education mandated by the Convention of the Rights of the Child, enshrined in the Constitution of St. Martin, and enforced through the law on compulsory education. But most importantly, we have a duty and a responsibility not to allow the opportunities before us to be wasted. Take your education seriously. Stop cutting classes, pay attention in school, act like a sponge and soak up all the knowledge you can. If you do not understand, ask for help. Read, and read some more. Always try your best. What we have may not be perfect, but we do have an opportunity to learn, which gives us an opportunity to improve the system. And this was from YMP Jimla Harleman.